Good afternoon or good morning to everyone. This is part of the Future of Messaging programme and the monthly analyst briefing that we have. Very excited to have Nick and Gavin from Mobile Squared talking about a whole new topic for the programme, looking at WhatsApp business messaging. Just a couple of points of logistics. Because this is a program meeting, then anyone can speak, but I've muted you all to let the guys go through the data that they're going to be sharing from their latest forecasts. If you have any questions, then we'll take them at the end. Obviously, I'll unmute everybody then. Or you can put them in the chat function as well as we're going along, and I can take those questions at the end. So it is being recorded as well. There should be plenty of time for discussion about the data that the guys are going to share, or more generally on WhatsApp for Business. So this isn't a formal webinar, but happy to take those questions at the end. There are a few, just for full disclosure, a few non-members on the call who we've invited, who've expressed interest in the programme and specifically in this topic. But with that, I will hand over to Nick or Gav. I don't know who's going first. You decide.
It's like ant or deck.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Who's standing where? Okay. So thanks, Joe. This is Gavin, and thanks to the MEF for hosting this webinar today. And thank you all for joining us as well to hear findings from our first report covering WhatsApp business messaging and traffic. So all data and forecasts in the report are based on the two primary use cases of WhatsApp for Business, namely, first of all, predominantly micro and small businesses, which have downloaded and are using the WhatsApp for Business app. And secondly, predominantly medium and large enterprises, which are using APIs provided by the WhatsApp business partners. So the report presents an estimation of actual data for 2018 and 19, and as usual, we do our 5-year forecasts, which cover the period 2020 up to 2024. Now, it's worth pointing out, I think now, that our approach to modelling WhatsApp business messaging has been markedly different to the other business messaging channels that we've covered, namely A2P, SMS, and RCS business messaging. In the case of A2P SMS, the starting point was always to identify traffic volumes, either for individual mobile network operators or individual countries. Whereas RBM kicked off with looking at the number of mobile network operators who are actually capable of supporting the service. So in contrast, our WhatsApp data has been modeled on the number of enterprises that are actually offering business messaging services. And we'll go into sort of how we've looked at some of this as we go through the presentation. Right, over to you, Nick.
Cool, thanks, Gav. Hi, everyone, Nick here. Before we do move on, obviously, I think first things first, we obviously remain mindful of what is happening around the world. And obviously our thoughts go out to all of those affected and those in the frontline workers who are obviously helping to kind of fight this war. We all know these are unprecedented times, and but we do need to crack on in different circumstances. And this is the first webinar I've ever delivered wearing my slippers. So with that in mind, let's start to talk about what we know. So we have a pretty good idea about the following. So we know the current WhatsApp users, we know current businesses using WhatsApp for Business app, and we've got a very good idea in terms of the current businesses using WhatsApp partner APIs. In terms of total WhatsApp user numbers, these are based on various public announcements dating back from December 2013. The most recent was obviously the December 2017 figure from WhatsApp, 1.5 billion, and then more recently in February this year, they announced that they had just passed 2 billion users. Now, based on our modelling, we believe that WhatsApp added a total of 265 million users in 2018, 250 in 2019. And before WhatsApp finally revealed in February that it had passed its 2 million user mark, we released our own initial research expecting that landmark figure to be reached at the start of April. We were 6 weeks out in our prediction, but our overall growth calculations are pretty accurate. So could you look at a breakdown of what we believe we know in terms of the businesses using WhatsApp? So obviously WhatsApp business has been around for about 2 years now. First, there are the WABs, the WhatsApp business accounts. Midway through 2019, around 8 million small businesses were believed to have downloaded the WhatsApp business app. But when we looked earlier this year on Google Play, it stated that the app had actually been downloaded over 100 million times. If we then track some of the announcements, and obviously WhatsApp don't make many, but they announced that they had 3 million businesses using the app as of August 2018. That rose to nearly 5 million towards the back end of last year. And when we spoke to WhatsApp in February this year, they confirmed that they now had over 5 million active WABers. So I think it's fair to point out that in terms of WhatsApp business activation, it's been considerably slower than expected. And the fact that the app has had over 100 million businesses interested in using it and obviously making the effort to download it, yet only 5 million have activated it, a 5% conversion rate, this indicates there's a disconnect somewhere within the ecosystem. What that is, we yet to find out, but it could change rapidly. We will see. Then if you look at on the API side of things, there are about 60 partner companies offering WhatsApp to big businesses. It's also worth noting that some companies have the scale to integrate directly into WhatsApp and therefore avoid any third-party platform costs. What our research and our discussions with the WhatsApp partners revealed during the first couple of months of this year is that there were less than 1,000 enterprises using the API. We actually put that figure about 992. Just coming back, looking at the WhatsApp users, again, there's obviously not a lot of information collectively, very limited information released via WhatsApp themselves. So what we will look to do is obviously collate as much information as we can. We've obviously been doing this for the last about 6-8 months in terms of tracking everything in terms of WhatsApp. So based on our research, the 5 biggest markets, we have our India, Indonesia, Brazil, Russia, and then the USA. If we look at the top 50 markets, which is pretty much all we could reach, all we could include on the slide, you can obviously see on the left, India is the biggest market. It has 432 million users. And across all of the 190 or so markets where WhatsApp is prevalent, the average is just under 11 million users. And again, I think what's of interest is that there are only 32 markets with an above average user total. If we break it down a little on a regional level, Asia accounts for 44% of total WhatsApp users globally. That's then followed by Latin America, Western Europe, Africa, East Europe, Middle East, North America, the Caribbean or Caribbean, and Oceania. In terms of our forecast, we expect there to be about 2.2 billion WhatsApp users by the end of 2020. And as you can see, we expect that will account for almost 50% of smartphones. At the end of our forecast period, 2024, we expect there to be 3.1 billion WhatsApp users globally and accounting for almost 60% of smartphone users. As part of our research into businesses, We found business size information for 127 of the 190 or so countries covered by WhatsApp in this report. We split that out between micro, 1 to 9 employees, small, 10 to 49 employees, medium, 50 to 249 employees, and large, which is over 250 employees. Where business size information was unavailable, we estimated the total number of businesses based on regional averages per head of population, and then split by the average percentages for micro, small, medium, and large businesses. We then averaged the number of businesses using the WhatsApp for Business in each country, weighted against the relevant WhatsApp user penetration per market. So this is based on existing growth trend from data released by WhatsApp. Our forecasts have therefore assumed relatively low growth in the number of businesses using the WhatsApp for Business app, showing a growth over the forecast period of just 28%. Although this can be revised up in future, given the potential for growth in the current underutilization rate of 95% of downloads versus businesses actually using the app. Looking at the business, that should say API, not app, apologies. So the total number of businesses using the API, partner API now, at the end of last year was 992. We expect that to experience exponential growth and have 55,000 medium and large enterprises using the API by the end of 2024. We average the number of businesses using WhatsApp, the partner API in each country, again, weighted against relevant WhatsApp user penetration per market. We've also assumed that the number will rise 2.5% of the available medium and large enterprises by the end of 2024. So over that period, that growth is over 5,500%. Gav, over to you.
Right, thanks. So that's sort of what we know. So we had to make some assumptions, and this is what we believe. So the assumptions we had to make are around 3 main areas. First, we had to look at enterprise behavior. So we applied some enterprise research that we conducted in the middle of last year to ascertain the average size of customer databases, and that we had that for, again, the micro, small, medium and large enterprises that Nick mentioned. Then we had to look at consumer behavior. So we also applied some consumer survey data that we collected last year as well to ascertain the average number of times a consumer would message a particular brand. And then third, excuse me, was pricing. So currently all business messaging via the WhatsApp for Business app is free. And WhatsApp also doesn't charge for messages sent via APIs as part of a P2A driven conversation, only for the A2P template messages sent by enterprise. However, the WhatsApp partners all appear to have different pricing strategies and different price points for both P2A and A2P. Some are charging a flat monthly admin fee, some are not. Some include P2A messaging volume within the fee, some do not. Some charge per user, some charge per message, and most seem to charge differing messaging rates, although the individual rates apply to both P2A and A2P. So we attempted to find a middle ground and have modelled our spend forecasts on the following. An average fee of $300 per brand per month, which is payable to the WhatsApp partner. An average rate of ½ cent per A2P message sent by enterprise, again, payable to the WhatsApp partner. An average rate of ½ cent again per template message sent by enterprise, which is payable to the WhatsApp partner. And then the advertised WhatsApp template fees, which you can see on the WhatsApp business page, which is payable to WhatsApp. So next slide. If we start with app traffic, there are 2 types of communication permissible via the business app, both of which are currently free. First, we've got the P2A chats, where customers contact a business via the app and thereby initiate a 2-way conversation, we've assumed an average of 6 messages will be exchanged in P2A driven conversations, 3 each from the consumer and the enterprise. Second, we've got A2P broadcasts, where businesses can contact their customer database, usually for the purpose of promotions and marketing. Now, broadcast groups are limited in size to 256, but a business can have as many broadcast groups as it needs. And we've assumed here that an average of 1 A2P broadcast is sent to its WhatsApp user base every quarter. So the relatively smaller customer database sizes for the micro and small businesses, together with the relatively less frequency of contact and ability to send material to a designated broadcast group, results in the WhatsApp for Business app being primarily used as a promotions and marketing tool. Even with just 1 WhatsApp blast per month, broadcast messages account for approximately 3/4 of all the traffic via the Business app. So in 2019, the 10 largest markets by traffic, which were India, Nigeria, Indonesia, Brazil, Germany, South Africa, USA, Italy, Russia, and Bangladesh, I think. Those 10 together accounted for 66% of the total traffic. Asia accounted for about 40%, followed by Africa, about 18%. Latin America was about 16%, and Western Europe, 14%. Now, by 2024, we expect Asia to account for almost 50% of traffic. Africa will still be the second largest region, but with half of the traffic of Asia. Now, the average monthly engagement rises from 0.34 messages per user per month in 2019 to 0.66. Now, this is across the total WhatsApp user base. Obviously, within that base, people have to opt in. We don't have visibility on how many people are opting in yet, so we've done it across the entire WhatsApp base. Now, messages per brand, this is micro and small, go up from around 123 per month last year to about 299 per month by 2024. So if we look at the API now, we can see again, this is based on 2 types of communication. First, P2A chats again, the same deal. Customers contact a business via their app and initiate a 2-way conversation. Again, we've presumed 6 messages, 3 each from consumer and enterprise. And the second one for the APIs is A2P templates. So this is where a business can contact their customers outside of the prescripted 24-hour chat conversation period. So it's usually for the purposes of sending updates and reminders. Promotions and marketing traffic is not permissible. So the relatively larger customer database sizes that we have in the medium and large businesses, the relatively higher frequency of contact, and the restrictions on promotions and marketing dictate that the main purpose of traffic sent over WhatsApp partner APIs is primarily customer driven, with P2A chat traffic accounting for approximately 90% of the total. So in 2019, the 10 largest markets on the API side, which were India, South Africa, Brazil, Germany, USA, Mexico, Argentina, Turkey, UK, and Spain, together accounted for about 75% of total business traffic. Asia, as a region, was about 42% of the total, followed by Latin America on about 20%. By 2024, we expect similar percentages. Asia will account for about 40%, Latin America still second. Again, the average engagement per user rises from 0.22 messages per month sent in 2019 to 11.6 per month by 2024. Messages per would go up from about 571,000 per month to 850,000 per month. So next we're going to look at the 2 forms of traffic, the app traffic and the API traffic put together. This is fairly quick, really. Overall, total app traffic currently accounts for about 70% of the total. Next year, however, API traffic will surpass app traffic, and by 2024 will account for 95% of the total. So that brings us on to spend. As mentioned earlier, each WhatsApp partner offers slightly different rate cards and price points. The only fixed fee that we have across the entire value chain is the rate currently charged by WhatsApp itself for enterprise use of template messages. So based on the aforementioned traffic assumptions, our model estimated the following. So total spend in 2019 was $38.7 million. Now we've got that rising to 3.6 billion by 2024, which is a compound annual growth of about 150%. The top 10 largest markets by spend are India, Brazil, Germany, South Africa, Mexico, USA, Argentina, UK, Russia, and Italy. They accounted for almost 70% of the total. But will be responsible for 30% of total spend. Europe, which is here, West and East together, around 25%, and North and Latin America together, another 25-ish percent, 24%. So the spend, on average, will be split 35% with WhatsApp and 65% with the WhatsApp partners. The average monthly spend will rise from 1/5 of 1 cent per user per month in 2019 to around 10 cent per user by 2024, with the monthly spend by brand up from around 4,640 per month in 2019 to 7,420 per month by the end of the forecast period 4. With that, I will hand you back to Nick.
Thanks. So what we're starting to identify from our data across the various business messaging platforms that we look at is that we're expecting SMS to continue its dominance in the A2P space, and this will be boosted by the widespread emergence of RCS. But right now, we believe WhatsApp is in a very dominant position in terms of P2A communications between a consumer and a brand. Originally, our data for RCS indicated the majority of traffic over RBM would be P2A from about 2022 onwards, but our latest forecast in RBM put P2A as a percentage of total traffic by 2023 down to about 18%. So what we're starting to see as we look at these various channels and we start to get an indication of what's happening is that WhatsApp and to a certain extent Apple with ABC have clearly targeted the customer care model. Data shared by LivePerson suggests that the customer care model in terms of call centers and voice is worth about $1.2 trillion. And obviously this is the market that WhatsApp and potentially Apple are going after as well. I mean, I think it's also fair to say that given that LivePerson we're looking at a $1 cost per communication over a messaging channel, it shows that the pricing model that's being deployed and applied by WhatsApp is significantly undervaluing the channel, and that's quite clear. So what we expect to emerge in the coming years is that outbound traffic will be dominated by SMS and later RCS, while inbound traffic, we think on the P2A side, will be split between WhatsApp, ABC and RCS, with WhatsApp likely to become the dominant force within that. One thing we should mention is we're yet to research and model the impact that COVID-19 will have on the messaging sector. Obviously, I know this is something that MEF is starting to look at and starting to cover in some of the calls. What we're seeing in some of our research at the moment is that there is circumstantial evidence in certain markets of a surge of consumer activity on WhatsApp around the world as people and groups look to stay in touch during this global lockdown. And at some point, businesses will get in on the act as well. and they'll start to realize that this is a very strong platform in terms of communicating with your immediate vicinity. Potentially what we think we could see as on the back of the global pandemic is that there'll be a fall possibly of around about 25% of micro and small businesses using the app in 2020. But because of the growth that we've seen in the consumer activity, which we would expect to probably see a slight acceleration or increase in terms of the number of people actually using WhatsApp itself, we think this will potentially accelerate either those dormant businesses that have downloaded the app and yet to use it, it effectively kickstart their strategy, or it will attract a surge of other companies, small and micros, looking to use the app as they look to communicate as things start to return to whatever normality might be in the future. But we do think that in the long term, there will be an acceleration of businesses using it based on what we have. But this is something that we will look at in the coming months. But for the time being, that brings an end to our webinar. And hopefully that's you found it useful in terms of our view of what's the WhatsApp business landscape will transpire over the coming years. The data book itself will be available later this month. There will be a MEF members discount, which we will share with you. In the meantime, does anyone have any questions for Gavin? Thank you.
Thank you, Nick and Gavin. That was really interesting. A lot of food for thought there for everybody in the messaging ecosystem. In terms of questions, then who would like to kick off? Some of you guys on the call are obviously already active in this space. Would be good to hear from you guys.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, yeah. Hi.
Okay, I just have a question. I'm Sébastien Leclerc from Myriad Group. Given the explosion in the term of connected companies to the WhatsApp API, I was wondering if WhatsApp planned to fully open their API or to onboard more communication partners to handle this growth.
It's growing all the time. I mean, I think in terms of the business partners who can offer the API, I think that it's almost an open door. WhatsApp want as many people on there as possible. When we started doing the research, I think there was less than 50. Time I looked, it was around 60 or over 60. So I think in terms of the partners coming on board, WhatsApp's very open to that, and they'd want as many as possible, I'm guessing.
Okay, thank you.
There's a question from in the chat from Dario. So you talked about the impact of WhatsApp on RCS in particular, and looking at P2A. What about the impact on SMS right now? So 5 to 6 million businesses using WhatsApp. How does that compare?
Typically in SMS, in the developed markets, you've got about 30 or 40% of the large businesses will be using SMS. It's probably a smaller figure in terms of the small businesses, but obviously there are a lot more of them. So I would probably say that there's probably about less than 1% of companies using WhatsApp compared to those that are using SMS, if that answers your question, Dario, which I think it does.
Thanks. Hi, Dario. Next question from Surash from Real Networks. Do you think the P2A focus and the focus on customer support was deliberate? And what will the next big use case be?
No, I absolutely think it's deliberate. I mean, if you look at the size of the customer care market right now, it's over $1 trillion. If you then compare that to what the business messaging market space is worth, which is about 30 billion, then it makes, it's a clear business sense really to use that strategy and go after a different pot of money. and then try and release that. And obviously they're creating efficiency, so they're also saving companies a lot of money in terms of the call center costs, the agents themselves, how many people, how many queries at a time an agent can deal with, and obviously when a bot can kick in as well. So all of these things are going to have a big impact in terms of how brands communicate. So I think it's a very logical step from WhatsApp to do that. But it does suggest that they're not going to go after the A2P space.
I think if you can hopefully hear me, I think that just even the difference in pricing as well, when you look at the WhatsApp model versus well, let's say moving into RCS where that's still evolving. I mean, the WhatsApp pricing is so much more expensive that a lot of businesses will be very happy that it's conversations, whether just paying the partner cost. As soon as they start using WhatsApp for sending out notifications and any form of communication outside of the 24-hour conversation, it begins to get very expensive, which is why I think WhatsApp is concentrated, or WhatsApp companies at the moment anyway, are concentrating on that customer service. And there was also a very interesting thing about sort of the social view of WhatsApp versus the messaging application on our phone in the future, is that the social view of OTTs is very much that it is about messaging. And you use it to message companies on their Facebook page, their WhatsApp. Sending a text is something even still slightly different, this view of texting as opposed to messaging. And I think that's something that WhatsApp and Apple are sort of very aware of.
Thanks, Gav. And then the next question, I think, is from Clickatel. As part of the forecast, do you have any insight into the per vertical breakdown for the businesses that have already adopted WhatsApp business messaging?
So on the app side, on the small business side, no. On the API side, we have more visibility because we're aware of who some of the companies are. Obviously, we don't have all of the customer lists from all of the partners, so we can't say precisely. But yeah, we have a view. And when we come to do WhatsApp updates on the back of the impact that obviously COVID has on it, we will be looking to sort of introduce sectors as well. We currently cover sectors in both SMS and RCS, so that will be hopefully rolled out with WhatsApp as well.
Great, thanks, Gav. And just to wrap up on the actual forecasts, guys, then so they're available now, or they will be available?
They will be available in about 2 weeks' time.
Okay.
And we'll put everything up on our website. And so if anyone's got any inquiries, then please drop us a line, an email, and we can answer any questions.
That's been really useful. Thank you. It is a topic that within the Future of Messaging programme we're keen to explore more. So it would be good to get feedback offline from the members. The next briefing, we will do this all over again at the end of the month, actually, on Apple Business Chat. So will be good to get the comparison there. But yeah, thank you for attending, everyone. For members, the recording edited out with the Dalek and the deck will be online. And yeah, we will speak to you all soon. Take care and stay safe.